Greetings, dear watchers, listeners, readers, and lurkers. It's Mike again with my stupid face, and in today's video, I wanted to try something a little bit different. This will go up on the Patreon, which you'll get links to down below, and then it will go up on the YouTube channel as well. It's a little test to see how this sort of thing would do. I'm quite excited to try it out. What I'm going to be doing is doing a commentary on a film that we shot for Ghastly Tales. Please watch the film first. That would be better, and then you can get into this. It's only 12 minutes long, so there'll be a link to the film in the description below as well. So please watch that if you haven't, and then you can watch this commentary video. Please also remember, Callum and Martin weren't involved in this film. You know, there are a couple of films on the channel that Martin and Callum shot, and I wasn't really involved in, and then there's like this one that I shot where they weren't involved in. It was really just logistics more than anything else. But because I shot this, you know, Callum's a professional. Stuff always looks amazing. I did my best on this. I'm still sort of learning the ropes in terms of shooting things, so there is going to be a dip in quality, and I'm also using a different camera as well. So let's start, shall we? 3, 2, 1, go. So this is called In the Dead of Night, which is a really maybe too common saying within the horror genre, but we chose that as the name for the film anyway. This is Chris McMahon, who was a huge part of making the film. You'll recognise him from Callum's film Blackout. He played the lead in that, and he really came up with the idea of shooting this film, a lot of the ideas, and then I kind of fleshed some of them out and did a little bit of writing on it and shot it with him, and we both edited the film together as well. So it was a real collaborative process, but it wouldn't have been possible without Chris, because he really came up with the structure for what we were doing, and he was looking after this I'm going to switch this actually. There we go, that's better. You can see the whole film now. He was working at this nursing home. Well, he was helping look after it in the evenings because it had been not abandoned, but it wasn't being used, but it was fully stocked, and he was doing some shifts looking after the place at night. We got permission to film a horror film there, and it was perfect. It was a really eerie place. I think especially since you're associating it with a place where probably a lot of people have passed away, but also just a place that should normally be filled with people has this eeriness to it. And there was, I mean, a lot of the stuff we both came up with like on the set, just doing things there and then, because there's so much you could use there for shots. So this is the security guard that Chris is playing, doing his rounds, and I do think there's some stuff that I would go back and I would change now. Maybe there's a little bit too much sort of walking around the place, but it was such a great location, and we sort of fell in love with doing all of these shots. We had to do a lot of the sound from scratch. Some of it's on location sound, but most of it isn't. We've sort of added it in afterwards, and I did the soundtrack for it, for the music. Chris added a real element of comedy into this as well, which you can't really see yet, but there were a few moments which I still find funny when we're watching it. We had to actually come back and reshoot this scene a while after we'd done it, because the sign on the elevator had the name of the owner of the nursing home, and we weren't really happy sort of putting that out there, so we had to go back and reshoot that. This is the second level in the building. It was a huge building, and like I say, really creepy, but it was even creepier. The reason there needed to be a security guard is some people had tried to break in, and someone tried to break in while we were there. One of the nights we were shooting, we just heard this banging off in the distance, and we tried to find out where it was coming from, and we got closer and closer to the noise, and then we ended up, whoever it was ran off into the woods that surrounded the place, and we could hear them, and Chris was shouting at them that he was going to eat them, which was quite funny, but I found it quite scary, you know, to be honest. So this is where the security guards, he first encounters the room, the main room in the building. Chris identified this place. He said there's a room that I think is quite creepy with some of the stuff that's in it. And so room 18, so we decided to focus in on that as a place to shoot. So we did that, and there was a real sadness in that room. You know, there was, just because there was a lot of personal things still there. You know, there were pictures. There was there was that on the wall, which was as if it was like this sunny scene that maybe they'd been looking at, and there was an empty chair facing it, and it was quite sad, you know. We tried to be as minimalistic as possible with the sound, using a lot of silence, and we used percussive things as well. Now the percussiveness was actually supposed to be kind of the sound perhaps of a walking stick being hit off things. I don't think you can really gauge that from the film, but hopefully it seeps into people's subconscious when they watch it. Some of the stuff I'm really happy with, I think looks quite good. This is the bit that people comment on the most, and this is Chris. Chris is he's probably about the funniest person I've ever met, and he's so smart as well, but he can do really intelligent comedy, and he can do the lowest level comedy like that and still pull it off, and he just did. Oh, he was brilliant. Trying to get him involved in more stuff, hopefully down the line. So this is the main room. This was like HQ, this room, this day room, and we spent a lot of time down here. That's me. Obviously not filmed at the same time. I filmed that actually late, about midnight on Valentine's night. I've not colour graded it correctly, so there's too much of a change, I think, between the two scenes. But we really, I mean, some of it we had to throw together quite quickly because we only had the location for a certain amount of time. So that's what we did. I still live in that house, but it looks very different. I'm just looking at the decor. So this is establishing that he's told his friends that he's going to be there, that's where he is. This was another idea from Chris, which was really hilarious, that him watching these late night babe station channels and things like that. It's always good to add a little bit of humour, I think. You know, I shot this, I had the idea that something's walking up to him and he doesn't realise that at this moment. A lot of the shots actually throughout it are made in a way that it's as if someone is looking at him. And he wakes up, and yeah, so we spent a lot of time down there in that day room. And we're establishing here that he has forgotten his torch, and there's my bag and the Doritos. So this is when it kind of ramps up. From here on in, you're getting more of something supernatural that's actually happening. So there you go, something's wandering around the nursing home, and the idea, at least that I felt when we were making this, and we sort of built as we were going and in the editing, was that the resident, as we referred to the ghost, was in that room, and once he was in that room, it was then following him around, and this is him doing his rounds again and coming back to the same room. And the music box in the room is playing, which is always creepy. And again, that music box was there. I can't remember if it was in that room or if it was in another room, and we moved it there and then put it back where we found it. I can't remember. The music is that was put in afterwards. That wasn't the actual music, the sound that came from the music box. Moonlight Serenade, I think's the piece, which I associate with horror films. That piece of music, but then I couldn't quite think where I'd actually seen it. And I did a Google search and I couldn't find the horror films that had been used in, you know. So this is him back in the room, and we pan down, and there it is. The music box is open. There was just a tremendous sadness in that room. There really was. And you know, maybe, you know, the skeptic in me says that, well, you know, you're in a nursing home and you're building all that up yourself psychologically, but you know, who knows? Perhaps you are picking up on something. I don't like this shot coming up yet. See, it just looks too different, really. I think we actually inserted that shot because we had to. I think there was actually a problem with the footage, if I remember rightly. We had to cut away. The empty bed, the empty chair. And then this is when he starts to encounter things. And that's a whispering voice, which is me saying, I'm near. We had the smoke machine and we thought, we've got to use this. We've got to use this smoke machine. So he's investigating whether there's a fire somewhere. And all of this flickering of the lights was done in post. It was done in an editing program. So all of this was added afterwards. But I think some of it looks quite good. And Chris had bought these masks, which we knew we were going to use for the first part of the initial scare. That's actually Chris. We didn't have a third person to shoot this with, so that's him. And that was really difficult to edit together actually, because we didn't have enough to do it. We didn't have enough, and I had to slow down clips and play around with it. And that's me and Chris again, just looking down at the camera. We decided to keep it in broad Scots, you know, represent. So that's the friend that he phoned earlier on. And we kept Chris's mask on so that you didn't see that it was him. This is maybe a bit on the nose. But what I really regret about editing this, and someone pointed this out in the comments, I think this looks good and I think it's quite creepy. That's me wearing loads of makeup and latex, and this jump scare was unnecessary. It was like you have two jump scares kind of back to back. Him walking out and maybe just flickering and see him in the middle of the hall was enough. So that's The Resident. And yeah, it reminds me of the film The Innocents a little bit, those cherubs, Turn of the Screw. And that, I mean, that's an outtake, as you can see by the camera shaking, but we just edited all this together afterwards. And the music is playing again, and we had to speed this up. This is an outtake, and then I sped that up to make the door slam. So yeah, that was In the Dead of Night. I hope you enjoyed it. I've enjoyed doing this actually. It was good fun. I think in moving forward, we might do a lot of oh, excuse me. I might do a lot of like some of the films that I did when I was younger and stuff like that as well, because I think they might be quite fun. They're really bad, but I think you might get something out of them. They're terrible, but I made a lot of short films when I was in like my early teens and stuff like that, and some of them were horror films, so I think that might be fun. And there's a few older ones as well I made in my 20s with Alan, who does all of our graphic work and presents Anime Nasties and writes that as well. He shot one of those films, and so I might put them up on the channel as well, and we'll move forward from there. Currently we are working on a big project. We're trying to do that at the moment, but we're also working on doing a lot of documentary stuff, so you've seen some of those hopefully on the channel, and they're going to be continuing over the coming weeks. So I just thought I'd do this. Let me know what you thought of it, if it's something you'd be interested in me doing down the line. We have talked, Callum and I have talked about maybe trying to do some commentary stuff before, and I'm sure Martin would be, and Alan would be involved as well, and maybe even Mick, the whole gang. So hopefully we'll do more of this in the future, and we'll be back soon. So thanks again for putting up with my face, and we'll see you all soon in the next video. Unpleasant dreams.